horrible women's health news from Texas. Maybe sort of a preview of what's going to happen under the Donald Trump administration. In July, Texas state health officials quietly proposed new rules requiring what amounts to funeral arrangements anytime a woman loses or terminates a pregnancy outside of her home. We're basically talking about funeral-like procedures for embryos, and this will, by all likelihood, go into effect, in all likelihood, before the end of 2016. A quote from Alexa Ora at the Texas Tribune: "Despite intense outcry from the medical community and reproductive rights advocates, the state will prohibit hospitals, abortion clinics, and other healthcare facilities from disposing of fetal remains in sanitary landfills, instead allowing only cremation or burial of all remains, regardless of the period of gestation." David Brown is a staff attorney for the Center for Reproductive Rights who says, even when the embryo is so small as to be invisible, the doctor or healthcare provider will still have to treat it like a dead person and have some kind of burial or cremation for it. What's the goal here? The goal is to shame women who don't bring pregnancy to term, to continue to try to control what women are doing with their bodies. And women's health advocates, known in the rational world as sane people, are worried that this might dissuade women who need medical care from seeking treatment. Well, yes, just like making abortion illegal encourages women to seek what are colloquially referred to as back alley abortions, that is exactly the impact that this is going to have. And what's going on in the background of this insanity in Texas? Well, an NPR investigation says that there's already significant evidence that a large number of Texas women are turning to what they call, and this is just horrible, DIY abortion methods rather than going to a doctor. However, and this is the most interesting part of this, the most popular method is not the back alley abortion per se, but a drug called misoprostol, which can induce miscarriage. And this really reminds me of many of the issues with these anti-choice nuts, Pat. Number one, how do you ban something that we're clearly going in the direction of women being able to do for themselves in their own homes more and more safely? The colloquial back alley abortion, horrible, bad for women's health, really, really bad. When you're talking about drugs like misoprostol and the ability to induce pregnancy in the safety of your own home, that is a direction that medical science is going, and it's going to make the hardline anti-abortion stuff more and more difficult. But it's also an issue of how these laws disproportionately impact poor people in a way that you would think conservatives would want to avoid. Unwanted children born to poor parents are more likely to be children in poverty, are more likely to therefore end up with worse educational and professional outcomes, which leads to more crime, incarceration, and even more unwanted kids. You would think that Republicans wouldn't want to do something that is going to lead to more of the problems they claim to want to solve, but it all goes back to this amorphous idea of morality, doesn't it?
And think of all the things that the Republicans have been able to do, even when Roe versus Wade is on the books in the position that it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, closing down many different abortion clinics in a state so that you have to travel long distances,
Sure,
requiring parental consent. And if that law is overturned, that's just going to open up a whole nother can of worms.
it is. And fortunately, it's not like how Donald Trump said it happens, which is just, I'll appoint Supreme Court justices who will be pro-life, and then instantly Roe v. Wade is automatically overturned. It doesn't happen that way. But yes, Supreme Court picks could have a very, very, very big impact on that. And, at the last thing I want to mention, and I know I've said this ad nauseum, we know how to prevent abortions from even being sought out. Number one, comprehensive sex education. Conservatives are against that. Number two, free access to birth control and information about how to use it. Way, way cheaper than the cost of abortions. Way, way cheaper than the societal cost of unwanted children. But unfortunately, conservatives are against that as well.